Right. So we are going to move right in to open.
Oh,
Oh,
did we give them the thumbs up?
now we have. Okay. So now that it's 7 o'clock, we are opening the hearing for an RDA at 729 Center Street. Do we have a representative? Please state your name and your role in this filing.
Great. Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes with ECR on behalf of Meadowbrook LLC for 729 Center Street. I have some color 11 by 17, if that helps. I didn't know if you had.
Bigger.
Yeah, it's
Bigger
this is kind of
pictures.
just a little snapshot.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, right. It helps.
My name's not Sherlock Holmes.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
So the first sheet is the kind of the existing conditions plan. So 729 Center Street consists of a larger parcel. There's a existing dwelling, an old kennel, a yard area, and some forested area in the back. The lot has been subdivided into additional lots, as you can see on the sheet. And in the corner of the property is an isolated vegetative wetland that we've delineated, and that is the limit of the vegetative wetland. It's an isolated system. That isolated wetland would qualify as an isolated land subject to flooding under the state regulations. And what that is it's a wetland that is based off of volume calculation. So if the wetland has a quarter acre foot, and if it's a quarter acre and holds at least 6 inches of water, it would be state regulatable as an isolated land subject to flooding. So that wetland is state regulatable as an isolated land subject to flooding. And under the state regulations, there's no buffer zone to land subject to flooding. The state does not protect isolated vegetative wetlands. It's my understanding that the town of Pembroke wetlands bylaw does not protect isolated vegetative wetlands. So what we're proposing is a project here. I did talk to Andy about the process of filing it through a notice of intent or an RDA. He thought that, why don't you come in first and discuss it with the commission under the RDA, which is what we've done, to confirm that the work being the construction of a driveway in a single-family home, the single-family home is mostly outside of 100 feet or outside the buffer, which there is no buffer technically, that work that's on the lot does not require the filing of a notice of intent, because it wouldn't be jurisdictional under the state, because under the state there's no buffer, and under the town of Pembroke wetlands bylaw, which it's my understanding that isolated wetlands aren't regulated. So it's a little different in the sense that I know the commission gets isolated wetlands from time to time. This is a little different, that it's a state regulatable resource area, being the resource, but that resource has no buffer. So if we were proposing alteration of going inside that wetland with the driveway or something, then we would trigger a state. But we're outside that resource, and it's just upland. Whether that's a buffer under the Pembroke wetlands bylaw or not, that's your determination. But I've read the bylaw, and I think how the commission has regulated isolated wetlands, that there isn't a buffer zone.
Can I,
Sure.
if you don't mind, I'd like to interrupt because you're on the subject.
Yeah.
A vernal pool has minimum 6 inches of water.
No, so an isolated land subject to flooding.
Yeah, but
Yep.
what I'm alluding to is, it said that there's standing water in there at times or whatever.
Yeah,
How
yes.
it was worded. And I'm thinking, well, if there's standing water in it, what time of year is that? How big is the area, and could it conceivably be a vernal pool?
It could definitely conceivably be a vernal pool. I haven't reviewed it in that manner. But for a vernal pool to carry protection, under the state regulations, it has to, one, be certified, And if it is certified, the vernal pool protective zone goes to the limit of the resource area. It doesn't go into a buffer. So if this were to be a vernal pool, it would, the protection of it would go to the limit of the isolated land subject to flooding. It wouldn't go into, it doesn't have jurisdiction into a buffer zone. So it doesn't matter on this proposal if it's a vernal pool or not, because we're not proposing any alteration inside the wetland. So, yes, it may be a vernal pool in addition to the isolated land subject to flooding.
If it was a vernal pool, wouldn't the migratory routes determine limits of breeding, summering, and wintering of different, say, salamanders or something that live there?
There isn't any regulations that would pertain to a migratory route. Would the migratory route, go across that area and, all different areas? For sure. But jurisdictionally, it doesn't, the protected zone of a certified vernal pool goes to the limit of the resource. So say we had a bordering vegetated wetland, and we had floodplain, bordering land subject to flooding plain, and the vernal pool was inside the BVW. That 100-foot protected vernal pool habitat from the vernal pool would extend out, but it would only extend to the limit of the bordering vegetated wetland or the bordering land subject to flooding, the flood zone. So if this was a vernal pool inside that land subject to flooding, it would just go to the limit of the land subject to flooding. It doesn't go into the buffer.
Right.
Now, some towns have bylaws and regulations that have additional protections beyond that
Yeah,
into the buffer zone.
added to the list of things. You have to.
Okay.
Right, am I correct in assuming we have no regulations protecting buffer zones?
Make a note of that.
No, you have regulations you have, the Pembroke Wetlands bylaw protects wetlands similar to the state, and does have a buffer zone protection to wetlands similar to the state. So Pembroke Wetland bylaw does have protection of buffer zones. But what I'm saying is the Pembroke Wetlands protection doesn't protect isolated vegetated wetlands that aren't jurisdictional beyond the state. I think that's what the town has.
I understand what you're saying.
Right. So if it's not, right, so if it,
Now, on that subject, these calculations that you have made for this area, are they in the RDA? In other words, what do we have in our files that shows what you did to prove that this was, what you're saying it is?
what we're saying, sure. I put it in the delineation memo that the isolated vegetated wetland delineated the site is a larger confined depression that was holding water and shown signs of flooding. Using MassGIS topographic data, the isolated wetland is 14,250 square feet in size. So that would be that's greater than a quarter acre. And if it holds at least 6 inches of water, that would be an isolated land subject to flooding. So it is documented in the RDA. But in the RDA application, I have asked only for the commission to confirm whether the work is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act or the Town of Pembroke Wetlands bylaw. So I haven't checked I'm not asking the commission to confirm resource area or delineation, which leaves it open so that if another guy comes along and says, hey, you confirm that wetland line as part of the project at 729. No. We didn't confirm the resource area. We just confirmed that the work doesn't require the filing of a notice of intent. So it's it's easier for the commission because you're not, this isn't a wetland line that's going to be confirmed.
It's easier for the commission now, but would it be easier for the commission if somebody challenged us on it? Do we have the necessary backup to defend that we accepted what you said?
Well, there are certainly protections that we could put in place in the future that would essentially prevent a situation like this going forward. But in this circumstance, I mean, so Brad, obviously you've presented us with the delineation in your report, but do we have anybody from Dunbar here that may be able to speak to the site plan that's proposed?
No,
No?
the engineer isn't
Okay.
here this evening.
So I have additional questions for the engineer themselves before, I mean, we would have to make a determination though. We can't continue this to the next meeting, correct?
I have a question.
Yes, all right. All right, Edgerton, you have a question?
Is it possible for us to have a second opinion on this? Because the vernal pools are pretty sensitive and the area is pretty close to a lot of wetlands. that are
That's-
important.
What type of precedent are we setting? Do we even know? Is this gonna be
talking about
precedent
a-
we set for the future for other developments, or what's going on there?
Well, so
Peer review.
So Art actually brings up an interesting point. So we're tipping into vernal pool season right now. So we had a 53-degree rain event last night, and this is when, and right, I mean, maybe you can
It's
speak to this, Brad.
starting,
We're
yeah.
starting with the process of all these amphibious and other creatures coming out of the woodwork, basically, out of the water, rather. So in this instance, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with moving forward without having verification. I mean, I know the protections aren't there for us to handle this isolated vegetative wetland because it's not in the bylaw and the state doesn't protect it. But I have specific questions with regards to how this work would be carried out and where. And on the plan, it shows some of this, but I guess I just have more questions. I don't feel comfortable making a finite decision on this, and I think that maybe we need to move forward with some sort of a notice of intent process to provide more clarity.
I'd like to ask Bob if he's come across one of these before.
Well, we've come across isolated area subject to and all, but never to the point that where we have here, you know. I think that if we do have problems with it, then we should go to a notice of intent. I mean, that's what the system is set up to do. As much as would like not to, I think that's what we need to do to get the
coverage that we need to.
coverage that
due
we need
diligence.
to make
Yeah.
sure we're right and to make sure that it's done correctly.
This is not to speak to
Yep.
your investigation in
Sure.
any way. It's just that they're, I mean, placing asphalt, there's stormwater involved. I mean, there are just certain things that we have to really be cognizant of in this process, especially when it's a
Site management.
proposed construction of a new dwelling. Yeah, site management, everything.
Well,
So,
I don't have issues with the notice of intent. I actually had it ready to go. So it's not a lot of work for me to prepare and submit the
Okay.
notice of intent, but the issue comes down to jurisdiction.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, so we file a notice of intent. We're not subject to the state because there's no buffer zone. We're not subject to the town because there's no buffer zone under the state and now the town. We don't have a problem with answering questions and working with the commission, and obviously we'll be putting erosion controls in place. I'm just saying, when the notice of intent comes and the commission issues an order of conditions, hopefully, issues an order of conditions, you see where I'm going? It's
Yeah.
not like it could, unless the commission makes a determination that, hey, this is in our jurisdiction, the
Yeah.
buffer zone,
We can
which
still
I
do
don't have a
that.
problem with.
Yeah.
We'll file the notice. I'm just throwing that out there because it could create a
I
problem.
think may need to know where the excess surface water and so forth is going and whether this isolated area is sufficient to handle it, and when it gets into this isolated area, where is it going after that? In other words, what are we doing with the excess water?
Is there going to be an earthen berm kind of
Yeah.
situation? Like, is there a berm rather
Well,
along the roadway?
the driveway is sloped away
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we
Water
can,
will
we,
flow to the
That's
opposite
like I said, I had
side.
the notice ready to file.
Yeah,
It might
okay.
be worth.
So we'll just do a
it-
positive.
It might be worth asking town council to weigh in as far as, you know what I mean? Is isolated vegetated wetlands or isolated wetlands jurisdictional under your bylaw? We'll file the notice either way, but I'm just saying, if it comes back no, then we have an order of conditions that's
Right.
hanging out there that's not
Covered.
regulatable. I mean,
Yeah.
that should be answered, you know?
If we do an RDA with a -3, we can also have conditions.
that are unenforceable.
They're unenforceable.
For the most part, yes.
There's no jurisdiction, there's no enforcement.
That's why I think.
Then-
the attorneys-
I wouldn't have a problem continuing the RDA and then, because
It'll give us a month.
I don't want to just throw a notice at you and then we issue an order of conditions and that might not be the right way to do it.
Well, an order of conditions, if we went with a NOI, could be conservation signage.
No, I hear you, and it's kind of sets it up for the future, so the next guy that comes in, is
Yeah.
it jurisdictional or not? So I would say, let this RDA play out, get an answer, whether it is or not. I'm ready to file the notice, I'm just saying it would probably be good to have, it's not my interpretation, but the town's interpretation, are these wetlands jurisdictional or not?
I think we have other problems besides just whether the wetlands are jurisdictional in there that we should have on a notice of intent and not on an RDA, which is just where is all the surface water going? Which way? What does it have, what effect does it have? Also, some of our marking of the wetland areas, you know, or of the isolated area. I'd like to see it in a notice of intent.
I think you've given us a reasonable exit here.
It would be
The reasonable exit
prudent.
would be that we let it go to the
Yeah.
next month. let
Yeah.
Town council have a weigh in on the interpretation
Yeah.
and go from there.
It would be prudent to do that. I think
So
that's
we
like a
could-
perfectly good
Town
solution
council
to this.
review it before next month?
Yes, yes.
Would
Yeah.
you,
That would be fine, because then, let's say we get a determination that
next
it,
week?
next week, or I could have the notice in and still be
Yeah.
in place
So
for the next meeting.
Coming April 3 on an RDA continuance or an NOI, we will remain
That sounds good to me.
interested in the
day
answer
is the
from
next
council.
meeting?
Does that work?
I think it's April 3rd. That works. It's April 3rd, right?
Yep, April 3.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
3rd.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Brad, for
That
that
works.
explanation.
Thank you.
That's really
you.
fantastic.
Okay.
We have to take our vote
No,
here.
We need a motion to continue.
Yes, sir.
So who wants to take that
Motion to
motion?
continue?
Motion to
Motion.
continue?
Well, no, I'm just saying we need a motion to continue.
do.
I made the
That was-
motion.
That was a
Yeah.
motion.
I
Oh,
just
my
second
Lanta.
this.
Did Art have
All
any
right.
questions
Oh.
along the way?
All right,
No worries.
Mr. Egerton, do you have any additional questions from your place in the remote land?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay.
The people in the audience.
Oh, yes, and we do have
Okay.
to open it up for public comment anyways. So,
Well, we're continuing it.
oh, okay. So we don't want to have
No.
anybody here to speak. Okay.
There isn't anyone signed up. Ma'am, are you here for Center Street? Okay.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion to continue to April 2nd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
All right.
roll call.
Or April 3rd.
Rick Madden, aye.
Gino Fellini, aye.
Oh, yes. Nicole Pelletier?
Yeah,
Aye.
Get him
Art?
last.
Bob Kenny, aye.
Jim Campbell, aye.
Rob Clark, aye.
All right. So we have everybody here and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
See you.
What a unique set of circumstances. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So now,
Oh, this is an easy one.
we haven't made any decisions, so we don't need to do any sort of notice. So, all right, we're moving on to an RDA for 211 Wampatuck Street. We're running a little bit behind. I apologize. It's currently 7:20.
This will be quick.
If you wouldn't mind stating your name and your involvement with this project for the audience, that would be great. Thank you.
Joe Webby, Webby Engineering. This is a septic system upgrade at 211 Wampatuck Street. We're right on Oldham Pond. We have a very definable bank. and then you can see we have the 50 feet and 100 feet. We can keep the entire septic system further than 100 feet from the pond, but we are going to be just doing a little bit of grading at the foot of the septic system.
So it's actually out of the 100-foot buffer zone,
Yes.
so that is not even in our jurisdiction.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, I had talked to Andy about it, and he suggested
Yeah,
I just.
well, it's right-
Yeah,
right on the end.
Right on the edge,
so
yeah.
that's fine. That's good.
Construction processes wouldn't be within the buffer zone though, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
What kind of siltation barrier do we have, John?
He's gonna put a silt sock.
What size?
I think it's a 10 or a 12. I think it's 18 inches, they call it.
Good.
18?
Perfect.
18.
Let's do it.
I believe 18 is an overdue, I think.
That's a bale of hay, isn't it?
Yeah,
12, I believe 12
yeah, 10 or 12 is really the
That's
best,
adequate.
yeah. They're easy to get rid of.
Also, usually land.
Is the wall built already?
Yes,
Is the work done already?
the work is mostly done, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, they're working their way, yes.
yeah.
I move to close.
Second,
All in favor? Oh, wait, we have to do roll call. Sorry, we have to do so. Mr. Madden?
aye, Rick Madden, aye.
Gino Fellini, aye.
Art?
Richardson, aye.
Nicole Pelletier, aye.
Bob Kenny, aye.
Jim Campbell, aye.
12 o'clock, aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank you very much.
I move that we,
Well, dude,
Move that
with an RDA, right?
Yeah, we have to issue a
yeah,
determination.
but
Yep.
it's out of the 100-foot.
Negative 30.
Yeah.
I issue a negative 3. Do as the plans and as discussed tonight.
All right, so Bob motions to issue a -3 determination per the plans as discussed tonight. Rick?
Second,
Gino?
Oh,
aye. Madden,
Gino, aye.
Art?
Richardson, aye.
Nicole Pelletier, aye.
Bob Kenny, aye.
Jim Campbell, aye.
12 o'clock, aye.
All right, so unanimous. So please note that any person aggrieved by this decision has the right of appeal within 10 business days. Please contact our officer, DEP, if you need assistance.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Webby. Making headway here. All right, so now, we are a little bit early. We have about 7 minutes before our notice of intent. Do we want to move through the process of approving our minutes, or
Sure.
okay, so let's go through that. Does anybody have any comments? Mr. Egerton, do you have comments about the minutes tonight?
No, I don't.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments about the minutes tonight?
No, they look good.
Yeah, I think they look great. All right, so do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of February 6, 2025.
All right, so Gino motions, Mr. Madden?
second,
All right, Mr. Egerton?
Aye. Richardson, aye.
All right, so Mr. Rick Madden did a second, Mr. R. Egerton did a third. Nicole Pelletier, aye.
Rick
Bob Kenny,
Madden, we're gonna,
Wait,
Oh, you have,
you did it? You said,
you
you
just said
seconded
aye,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Gino Fellini, aye.
Bob Kenny, aye.
Jim Campbell, aye.
Richardson, aye.
12 o'clock, aye.
Thanks, Art. And Nicole Pelletier, aye, unanimous. All right, so minutes are done. All right, that was quick. All right, so, all right, well, we have a couple minutes. Does anybody need anything? Mm-hmm. All good? All right. I guess, if we just have a little bit of time here, like 5 minutes. We have our DPW director joining us tonight. I don't know, maybe 5 minutes isn't going to be enough time for him to discuss with us with regards to the trees in memory and all of the logistics around that.
Yeah, no, he has actually got a project. He's not expecting it till 8.
Okay, perfect. All right, so that's good.
I was talked to about some trees being cut at the Rotary Bog, property. That's the
Okay,
repair shop. And, they didn't come before us, they probably should have. They didn't cut down X amount of trees, so I think we should let them know that they owe us for the trees that were removed.
How about we get you some commentary at your next meeting on that?
Perfect.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I mentioned it to Andy, and he said there was gonna be no tree cutting, that it was pruning. There was not supposed to be any tree cutting, so if there is,
There were definitely trees cut.
So he
Yeah.
provided administrative consent for just pruning, and then
Right.
it's perceived that there are trees that have been completely.
so that should be brought up with
And
Andy first of all.
you'll hear from the town manager at your next meeting on
Okay.
that subject. Okay.
Perfect, thank you. All right, next meeting. Almost there, people. We have a little one in our presence too, so I'm trying not to yell, sorry. I have a baby. All right. Well, so for liaison roles, maybe we want to do this quickly. I am personally planning on attending the open space committee meetings regardless, but if there's anybody who would like to be assigned the liaison role for any, if they have specific interest, they're more than welcome to be the liaison. I'll be there too.
I would take it on,
Okay,
with the caveat that I am the least experienced person here.
okay.
And I have tried to look over the materials for open space.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I just have the book right here from, that I have in print,
Mm-hmm.
which I've gone through on the computer, but not very well. With the understanding that I will not be responsible for any reports that will be generated. Because I see that looming up in the future.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't mind helping out, but I'm not gonna be the person responsible for that.
Sabrina, I don't recall the dates, but our open space plan has been conditionally approved until, what is it, 2028?
2020.
Yep, so we
April.
still have a number of years before we can open up for that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so you have plenty of time to digest all of that information.
Excellent.
How about that?
But do you have a specific human who will be the liaison so that we can actually tie it with accountability? It's you? You
That's
will
right.
be that person?
It kind of gave me the feeling like that was a foolish move on my part. I mean, I was in the
No, it's
Marine Corps,
brilliant.
and
It's
they did
brilliant.
teach us not to volunteer, but
So look what we're doing.
You're a glutton for punishment.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so do we have a motion to accept this volunteer?
Generally, you can
liaison?
just take him as volunteer.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
Oh,
cool.
absolutely.
All right,
Sure.
I've seen it go
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to, we have, maybe we could have a volunteers liaison for like scouting. They meet on, I believe it's every Thursday. Excuse me. Wow, words today. The Troop 105, they meet on Thursdays. Their committee discusses Eagle projects for the coming year and all of that, all those. No, that's okay. All right, I'm putting it out there. I would be happy to be the volunteer / scouting liaison, just because I'll be there at those meetings too.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Yeah, okay, so we'll do that, so. Sorry? Yeah, that's why I was giving Jim an opportunity to say that. Yeah, I understand, it's okay. All right, so I'll be the troop / volunteer liaison, whatever, what kind of form, yeah, we're there, aren't we? Okay, well, we got that out of the way, we can talk about other roles, when we revisit old business. So now sorry, I touched your phone, but it is now 7:30, so we are going to open up our hearing for the notice of intent at 25 Littlebrook Road. Do we know if we have a DEP number for this? I don't believe we do.
I believe so, yes. Let me just check
Okay.
what I've got.
We still in the SE 52s?
Yes. You do. 25 is 056-1119.
Oh,
32
okay.
is 32 Littlebrook
Uh-huh.
is 056-1120.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just say that, so this hearing, we're opening up for a notice of intent at 25 Littlebrook Road at SE 56-1119. May you please once again state your name for the record and your role in this filing.
Thank you.
Same owner.
Joe Webby, Webby Engineering, and with me today is Greg Maroney. And Greg would like to purchase a vacant lot at what's being called 25 Little Brook Road. We had a bordering vegetated wetland delineated by Brad Holmes. And then you can see we have a 50-foot and a 100-foot. He would like to build a single-family dwelling in this area. The septic system is up towards the street, and the closest the house will be 42 feet from the BVW.
So I heard you say the septic system would be up. Does that mean it's a pumping system?
No, we will not be pumping. We can do this gravity because we're building a new house. We're just going to keep the house under.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
So-
Thank you very much.
In other communities, it's common practice, and this isn't the case in Pembroke, but a 50-foot no do disturb is something that is frequently used as best practices from the perspective of conservation. I have specific concern about both of these parcels because they are predominantly wetlands and buffer zone, and we are being, specifically 25 Little Brook Road, we'll just focus on that one first. We're being asked to approve development within protected areas under our bylaw. I just don't want to cause a precedent here. I appreciate the work, I appreciate the conservation markers, but when you're creating a certain level of disturbance for a new construction of a single family home, there is precedent that gets opened up for further lots being developed in this exact same capacity. So I think, and I'm also wondering about the history of this neighborhood, because some of these properties were built in the 70s, some of them were built in the 80s, and these weren't developed for a reason. I just don't have enough information in front of me to discern whether or not the initial development of these parcels along this road if there was some sort of a restriction or any other sort of impasse that may have led to the fact that there are no homes on these parcels. I don't know if anybody else has any comments. Art, do you have any comments from your remote perspective?
Yeah, I'm concerned about being in the wetlands too, and I don't know, will we have somebody else review that, or what's the solution to investigating that?
So these are both notices of intent. The solutions are to ensure that what is being done is most practicable for the site, or to expressly deny the project altogether, which is not something that we like to do here. But there's just a lot to consider.
So will you look into that, Nicole?
Go ahead,
Nicole, would you look into that to see what happened when they built the rest of the neighborhood? Find out about these specific lots?
So I think there's a little bit of a mix between like the subdivision control law and when that was passed, but I think that that's something that our own Mr. Andy Wandel would be able to speak to in his administrative capacity.
Okay.
Nicole, I'd like to speak on some of the history in that area,
Yes, please.
which isn't, two things. One, you made mention of setting a precedence of being too close. I think that's all gone out the window, because if you go back in our dealings over the last years, there are a number of times that we have allowed work close to the wetland line, at least as close, if not closer to these. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying we have already set a precedence that we maybe have to hold to.
Now, I do
That's
have a
another whole
question.
subject. The second subject is Little Brook Road from a historical standpoint, and this is from someone who's been around a few years here, and I hope I don't step on too many feet or anything else, was a family road to speak of. The properties the property was owned by a family in town, and most of the houses that were put in there at the beginning were either children, uncles, aunts, or someone of that nature. So naturally, the better lots were used because there were more land available than the number of people who were wanting to build there. And since that time, things have changed in town. Lots that people turned their nose to before now
Exactly.
become very valuable to people. The town assessors seem to think they're very valuable if you look at their tax bill. So somebody's holding on to these pieces of land, paying money, and we're in a position to perhaps say, well, sorry, folks, you have something on your hand you've got to figure out how to give away because it's not worth anything to anybody. And I think this is where we have to start deciding what we can do and what we can't do. Now, I believe the law, and this is only my interpretation, and I'm not like Joe or Brad or any of these people, I don't have that kind of knowledge, but that in order to build on these things, we have to prove, or the developer, or the person, and I'm gonna use developer, but that's just broad terms, has to prove that what they're doing is not gonna have an adverse effect on the resource area. That's the main basis of the regulations. And so it's up to them to be able to convince the commission that whatever they're doing is not going to have an adverse effect. And I think that's one of the big things you're going to have to look at is whether developing of these lots is going to have an adverse effect on any of the resource area, and whether whatever they can do to help omit this perhaps intrusion on the wetland resource area is worth it to the town for lots. Or are we going to just say, sorry, folks, we're leaving you hanging in the air? End of speech.
I have an issue with a house being built entirely in the buffer zone, 42 feet from the resource area.
And a deck being proposed.
I mean, if you had a corner of a building, part of a garage or something is one thing, but this is undisturbed land. You're gonna have to clear it. So you're gonna clear an area that protects the resource area to put a house in, and the whole property is in the buffer zone. So I'm not comfortable with this at all.
If
I can see what you did with the septic leaching field. It's right at 100 foot or so. That's, I mean, you can't put it anywhere else. But where the house is, I got a problem with that, because, I mean, we've approved parts of things that were previously disturbed and so on. But you're taking vegetation, topsoil, everything. You're ruining an area, a natural area. I'm not saying ruining. That's probably a good word to use.
Developing.
Ruining the natural appearance of a protected zone to build a house in, and the yard is in the protected zone. And is any of that property cleared now? It's all
wooded
forested land.
Yeah, what I would like to suggest, if I may, is let us stake out the house and let's have a site visit.
Can you speak up?
Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to stake out the house location for this lot and then the next lot, and let's have a site visit, so you can see it. We're quite a lot in elevation above the wetlands and on this lot.
Okay.
And I think it would be just a good idea to come on out and take a look at it.
Is there any way to attenuate or achieve the functionality of the septic with the house perhaps being further east as opposed to where it is? So I see the driveway, but I think, to make it more linear and more within the 100-foot buffer zone as opposed to encroaching into the 50, there is flexibility there, is there not?
There's not a lot of flexibility,
Small lot.
because my house has to be 40 feet from the street.
Yeah.
So I think, let's see, what do we
Okay,
have?
so I
Right now
see
we
what you're
have-
doing.
Right now, we have the house 41 feet from the
Yeah.
street line. That's a zoning issue, so if I took that at 41, it would be a lot worse over there, I think.
Is there any consideration of going before zoning for this?
Yeah, for a variance.
I think that if the Conservation Commission would somehow recommend that, I wouldn't mind going to zoning, but right now, this is before you people.
Okay, that would probably be the next step if we didn't want to move forward, but should we do a site visit just to see what we're looking at?
I think
Yes.
we have to, it's still,
Yeah,
is it a smart thing to do? We've had lots go through that appeared to be fine, and there was supposedly reclamation was going to take place, and then they find out that sitting on a ledge and it can't take place. There's a lot of unknowns that you can run into on a tight squeeze, you know?
There's no area for reclamation. It's all
Like
wetlands.
I said, the tight squeeze.
okay. Well, okay, so we can motion to continue and then
Motion to continue and
to April 3rd.
look into getting a variance to move the property closer to the street, adjacent to the leaching field,
Well, I would
as
have
far
to,
away.
I would
from-
have to separate them. I think because of the Title V dimensions also, then I mean, if we were to keep the septic there and move the house
Yeah.
over here, then there wouldn't be a problem with the septic. But I can't get, the closest I can be to the street is 10. This is a pretty narrow septic system, and then the closest I can be, the septic to the house is 20,
Yeah.
and that comes out to 40, if, 10, 10, and 20.
Yeah,
So we don't have a lot, but to take your idea, of asking for a waiver or a variance, then that would have to be down. We could do it
that's what I was
if they were
thinking.
sideways, but only with a variance.
Be nice if you could at least get out of the 50-foot
You can,
BBW.
you can get the pitch, right? Like going to that
Oh,
side
yeah,
of the
oh, yeah,
lot?
we can, if
Yeah.
we don't have pitch, we can always pump, so.
Okay.
What do we accomplish moving it 10
60,
feet?
70, then this house would be right on the street.
What do we accomplish by moving the house 10 feet, Bob?
Or
Or the septic?
moving it anywhere? I mean, do we actually accomplish anything if they can prove that what they're doing isn't going to affect anything anyway?
I think the thing is that I'm not feeling it's, at least for me, I don't feel like, not to speak to Mr. Webby's preparation or anything, but I personally don't feel convinced that this is the best option yet. And I think that a site visit would be fantastic.
Well, and then I think you need a site visit to see what's there.
Yeah, just for further information, to feel confident in the decision.
So Gino, in your motion, could you remove the variance language? So he's not in that position until you see it?
Just motion to continue pending further investigation. on
I
site.
move that I amend Gino's, to say that we want to see a site visit with things staked out physically to look at.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All right, so Mr. Rick Madden seconded. Mr. Fellini,
Well,
do you,
he's got to vote.
oh, yeah.
voting on.
So seconding the motion.
Yeah.
Yep, so
I did a
Mr. Rick
second.
Madden
Yeah.
seconded
You
the
gotta vote
motion.
aye.
Gino Fellini, aye.
All right,
If you cannot,
Nicole Pelletier, aye.
Bob Kenny, aye.
Jim Campbell, aye.
Clock eye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you so much. So get in touch with Andy and we will perform a site visit sometime between now and April 3rd, our next meeting.
perfect.
We'll see you at that meeting,
Thank you.
and thank you very
Well-
much, Mr. Wyman.
We might as well do the same thing.
Yep, we
with,
will do the same thing.
What's it, 32? Little?
Yep, so we have to, so we have to motion to open, well, not motion, but we have to open, so, all right, moving on.
Excuse me, is this still open for
Oh.
public comment?
So we're continuing, we're continuing it to April 3rd, so you can provide public comment at our April 3rd meeting.
Yes, Thursday, April 3rd, first
Yep,
Thursday.
and that is for 25 Little Brook Road, and then just because we have little ones in the room, if you're here for 32 Little Brook Road, we'll be treating that just the same. Okay,
So do we need a
Okay.
motion to continue 32?
well, let's open it up
Excuse me, why can't
first.
we make public comment now?
Nothing's before them at the moment, they've continued.
Is that Robert's rules or?
It's already been continued to April
Okay.
3. So then you'll be able to come and whatever next action is, that may very well include public comment.
It will most definitely include public comment. Don't worry, you'll have your chance to speak. It's okay. Okay, and I apologize for the inconvenience, though. Okay, so now we're going to move on to open up our hearing for the notice of intent at 32 Little Brook Road. And, oh boy, where's the SE number? SE 561120. Just per our previous discussion, we are in need of attending a site visit to just confirm that the resource areas and everything that may be proposed before us for this parcel is going to be, it'll essentially prove to us that this is the best option and the most,
I
guess
move
just-
that we
If you state that, we'll see.
use the
Yeah.
same motion for this lot as we used on the prior lot
Okay,
and handle it similar.
okay.
Can I add something to that? You're gonna stake both of them out.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That you contact the
I'm
agent,
gonna
Or
contact Andy.
call the
soon.
office and
Yeah, yeah.
talk to Andy, and let us know when you have dates available for us to
Sure.
That's how it's done.
Yeah,
get together
Yep.
to go out and do.
Yep, I don't
take a
have any vacations
field
planned in the
visit.
next month.
Okay, Smarty.
okay.
Okay.
So Mr. Clark motioned, Mr. Fellini provided additions. Mr. Madden, do you second?
Well, second and
Okay,
roll call.
all right, so we have a roll call vote.
Rick Madden, aye.
Gino Fellini, aye.
But it's, you know,
Nicole Pelletier, aye.
Bob Kenny, aye.
Jim Campbell, aye.
Bob Clark, aye.
Unanimous. All right, thank you, Mr. Webby, so
Thank
much,
you
and
very
thank you,
much.
everybody else. We really appreciate your patience.
Okay.
Okay.
Another one.
This call will be recorded.
Oh, really? Okay. So
Can't
it
understand.
says that call will be recorded. Are you recording us too? All right, so,
Can you sign the 211 Wampatuck while you wait?
yes.
All right.
Dee-dee-dee.
Voted a negative 3 earlier.
Which one you were on?
Okay, we got a little time. We can call,
Thank you. Have a good night, Joe.
well, we got 10 minutes. We can call it recess.
Okay.
Go.
Oh,
In case anybody maybe needs a moment.
Gonna make-
yeah, I love that.
Gonna recess
Yeah,
for 10 minutes.
This board will be in recess.
okay.
Just do this with the-
All right. So this board will be in recess for 10 minutes.
There.
All right.
Okay.
Why is that? What's the season there?
Well, Sunday, or asleep, kids, animals, they're gonna.
Oh,
Start the process of spring.
8 o'clock.
oh, it is
Look,
time.
I don't know if
Tis time.
you
All
and
right.
Gino and them know that
And whenever
down
you're ready
on,
to go, give them.
beyond the,
Yeah, I did
Where I
a
live.
dance
on
Perfect.
Silver Lake, the
All
deer
right.
was taken down by the coyotes.
at both things
last
for some
week.
reason. All right,
Taken down out on the ice and part of it dragged up, but the deer was taken down by the
Sabrina, do we have
group of coyotes.
do we have an
Lost
SE
5
number
of them.
for this one, for
They got
71
their
Old
deed.
Pelham Street?
Deer
Get
can't
your
get nothing on
DEP
ice.
number?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Right
yeah,
here.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Yep.
Yep,
Duh.
you're 112.
0561121.
Yep.
1121. Okay. All right. It is 8 o'clock, and we are going to be opening up our hearing for a notice of intent at 71 Old Pelham Street, SE 56-1121. Please kindly come up here, state your name and your involvement in this filing.
Thank you. My name is Michael Di Benedetto. I'm a project designer at Grady Consulting. I'm representing the applicant Michael T. Dolan. The project is already stated. You already had the SE number, and this is for 71 Old Pelham Street. The project consists of a construction of a 24 by 24 foot garage to be built within the 100-foot buffer of a bordering vegetative wetlands. And the garage will be placed 41 feet from the wetlands. Associated earthwork would be no more than 25 feet to the wetlands, and erosion control would be installed before work began 25 feet or 20 feet to the wetlands. No existing trees would be removed, and the established tree line would not be disturbed that leads into the wetlands.
What size is the wetland, is the sock?
I don't have the full linear feet of the silt fence sock right here, but I do
In the
have
detail,
sketch.
it
What
says
diameter
12
is it?
inches.
Oh, understood. Yes.
Yeah.
12 inches. I thought you meant the linear
Yeah, no, the diameter.
diameter. Yes, I believe it is 12. Let's call that for.
That's good, that's our standard.
Yep, that's the paperwork that we have.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So the area that the proposed disturbance is taking place in, or the limit of work rather, is that in an area that is previously disturbed, such as a lawn area, or is it natural area?
This is a lawn area. It's already
Okay.
been mowed for a
Oh,
while. Like I said, no trees are going to be coming down for this, and no disturbing of the tree line that's already established. The client has a garden he's been maintaining, which he's very happy to move to have a garage be installed.
Is it gonna
Good
be
to
a
know.
Wall,
Yeah,
4-foot
yes.
wall? Put
Ye-
in?
Yes, it will.
Is the deck new, or is it,
The deck is existing.
okay. Was there any consideration for removing the deck and attaching the garage to the house, or scooching the garage out of the buffer zone?
The entirety of the site, or
50-foot
for the
buffer.
majority of the site, is within the 100-foot buffer.
Yep.
And encases the entire northwest side of, or I'm sorry, southern part of the property, where no amount of the garage could be installed onto that half. So even
Okay.
removing the deck would not push it outside the buffer.
Yeah, the main question I had was previously disturbed area. It isn't. So, I don't know. What do you think, Bob? I don't have a problem with it. It's already,
Well, I
They're
have
not
I have some
cutting
other
trees
problems.
down.
What is the garage being used for?
This client just needs a place to store his 2-bay for his 2 cars for his family, and I believe that's the only use for the garage. That was all that was stated.
What would the client have to say if we were to ask him to put a restriction on the garage that it would not be used for residential use in the future?
Oh, I see what you did there.
That would be as in, if he wanted to have an ADA, he could
Lose eye.
possibly
for,
raise the roof of that and put an
We
ADA
need to
in.
call him back.
And again, if it's that,
what happened?
that close on the deck across, it's just that in the past, we have
Hold
been
on,
burnt by allowing something that later on became part of the house.
I believe the
You're right.
garage,
No,
so-
it's,
sorry to interrupt, but I believe the garage design has it already underneath the building height requirements, so no more height could be used for it. he'd have to build out the actual garage footing, and then he'd have trouble with bedroom size, septic. Assume it'd be septic for there.
Well, if that's the case, then they would.
So I don't think you would have that ability.
It would have
Would
to go
not
for
be,
more.
it would be taking a restriction. I would like when we take it, when we get to doing whatever we're going to do, make sure we put something in it about asking for a restriction that it will not be used for residential use.
Or storage of chemicals and such. Stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe you include more.
I don't think that we can do that. I think that it's, we can weigh in on the processes, the stockpiling, and the footprint of the building itself in relation to our jurisdictional areas, but we can't dictate how they use this space after it's been constructed.
All right, we can say that no permanent plumbing be put in the garage.
Okay.
What if we wanted to have, like,
A dog washer.
What if they wanted to put an in-law
I know,
apartment
that's what I'm saying, so-
upstairs?
We have in the past, that I know of at least 2 locations where we have restrictions on garages in this town.
I mean, I understand what you were, so I guess maybe if you wouldn't mind reiterating why they won't put the proposed garage slab next to the home?
It was not considered an option. The client wanted to keep his existing deck and be able to have a garage.
Probably for light and stuff in the house. They'd want to shade the house maybe, you know.
Shade the house from the
Look
southern
at the
side.
deck, light, you know.
That
Yeah,
is the,
south facing, yeah.
this
That
section
makes
right over
sense.
here is where he's already gardening. I think he's planning on trying to reuse the same soil and be able to garden between his
Yeah,
deck
collect the
and
water.
his garage.
You know,
Okay, that makes
that's where
sense.
the water can go.
What kind of roof, oh, sorry, Gina.
I was gonna ask, how far away is the corner of the garage to the tree line?
From the tree line? I don't have an exact measurement on that.
It looks like it's probably, I mean, I guess if I had to guess, it'd be about 8 feet.
Because I was thinking of putting conservation markers at that location, just in front of it,
That would be at the tree line, sir?
at the tree line, since it's all previously disturbed lawn up to the tree line.
Do you want to
Understood,
see
yes.
do you have, I'm sure Grady has details on hand for conservation markers?
They run one of the
I believe they do,
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
And we'd be fine to have that installed with the silt fence at the same time, so that
okay,
when any contractor who's ever hired to do this job has evidence of this, the silt
Okay.
fence will be a preventer as well, so.
Or just
Okay.
some kid mowing the lawn and
Yeah.
hauling the brush and all that stuff.
Could you
Grass
repeat
seed.
the distance from the corner of this garage to resource area?
I believe it is 41.4 feet.
Yep.
If my recollection is correctly from just an hour ago, we debated about a house being built 41 feet in the buffer zone,
yes,
In
sir.
the buffer.
41 feet from the resource area, and took exception to it.
Yep.
And this is the exact same,
Well, it's not
Measurement,
exact, because,
but this isn't a full house, it's still a structure.
And
yeah,
it's
but it was in a
disturbed.
forested area, they would have to clear
Yeah,
It's
the
already been-
wetlands.
so this is a
The
previously,
board-
It's the only difference.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Although they're the same.
this is already disturbed.
Yeah, it's
still, only
previously
so far from the
disturbed.
wetland
Right.
resource area.
It's still the same footage.
The same footage.
type of
but
footprint.
because it's being, it would be, it's proposed to be performed within pre-existing lawn area and previously disturbed area,
I
and it's
understand
outside of the
that
tree
gives it
line.
some plus, but it doesn't give it any distance, when the figures are the same. To me, it's, if,
agree.
if you're having any problem with erosion or any other thing that's going into the resource
Mm-hmm.
area, 41 feet is still 41 feet.
That's a good point. Do you know what kind of roof they'd be proposing and what direction it would slope in?
I can look at my plans for that if you give me a moment.
Yeah,
I
sure.
brought the design plan with me.
I would want to know if the gable end is facing the street or if the gable end would be facing the house.
I know, I really don't see a problem with it, but I just don't see us doing the same, having the same figures in front of us in back-to-back hearings and handling them entirely different.
Of course.
agree with
The
that.
current design for the garage is to have the gable be facing the street, so it'd be sloping off to the left and right, as you see it on the property now.
Okay.
Existing tree line.
So just as a point of order, I don't see us treating this differently than the last time, in that what our proposition wasn't to say no, it was to say, stake out the property, we'll do a site visit.
Yep.
And there's a possibility based on that, that we may agree with it. So it's not as if we said, oh, it's 41 feet, we're not gonna allow that. This is 41 feet with a different set of circumstances.
Would it be rude to throw out an alternate perspective?
No,
I just want to know, am I being rude? Your previous applicant with 2 single-family home construction on wild parcels right now that were not determined to potentially be or not be buildable is not the same as a homeowner coming to you tonight saying, I own a home, I have been a good steward, I pay my bills, I do what I'm supposed to do, and I would love to have a garage.
It's
The
not,
2 situations, while 40 feet is always the same, it's 40 feet,
Right.
there are other components to this to consider, in my opinion.
it's
I
not
would agree
providing
100%.
unfettered access, yeah.
Water infiltrators or any ideas of,
Nothing's been designed for, but we would be open to any suggestion or any options that
who is a gardener, rain barrels are always a great way to take your roof water and save yourself money and direct it where you want it to go.
That is true. When I surveyed the property, I didn't see any rain barrels on site, but there are always good options.
Not dictating, just suggesting.
100%.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Yes, sir.
runoff from the garage. Sumps into the ground rather than runoff, or rain barrels, something to prevent runoff, as Bobby had alluded to.
Right.
Gutters could be designed and written into the plan to be installed on both sides, to have a downspout that went into a system that could
Yeah.
infiltrate it or collect. When I designed this grade work, it was purposeful to make a flat spot that would be able to collect and not just run off directly to the wetlands. Wanted to make a bit of a buffer for water to be able to infiltrate as it left the roof and not just head straight down that slope and towards that silt fence.
I have a question for you. Are you proposing a retaining wall of any kind to
We are not proposing a retaining wall, please.
okay, because I didn't see it on the
Nice
plan, I just
grade.
wasn't sure. So it's just,
That's the hope.
okay.
Another
Then
question,
we're also adding fill,
oh, sorry.
to the buffer zone, the 50-foot.
The planned use of the silt fence is to remain there until the slope stabilizes.
Okay.
In your brief narrative, you say this is the nearest point of disturbance to the BBW at a distance of 10'6". What, I didn't quite understand what,
That would be for the silt fence, sir.
it would be the silt stock.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Counted the
Kinda
silt
thought
fence
it
as
was.
the furthest disruption that would be installed.
okay.
The grading has not been graded as I've drawn in for the CAD to lead perfectly into it. We wanted to make sure we left something undisturbed and then come up to a gentle slope with grade and then flatten out so that water can be collected, meeting up with the garage. That way you don't have an awkward walking zone around your garage and such.
So the silt sock will be in a previously disturbed area as well?
That's correct, yes. All before the tree line.
Okay. I motion to let them,
I move it close.
let them,
Second,
Oh,
well, I was in the
Wait.
middle of doing that.
hold on, because we have to also do a roll call vote on this. So we were in the middle of doing a motion to close. Do we want to let Mr. Fellini finish his motion,
Well-
and then if
Oh,
you
I
want
like, I
to?
like to close
Yeah,
first.
okay.
Go ahead.
Make the motion, I'll make it.
You want to close?
Okay.
I want to close, that means then we're
Well,
done.
go ahead, I don't
Unless you
care.
have, do you have
I just
something
want
that
to
needs-
close and move on.
I have, Mr. Clark wants to close, Mr. Madden second.
Yeah, that's.
So
Anything else you want?
Bob closed. Go ahead, Bob.
do we do favor?
Well, we haven't voted on closing yet.
Oh,
Yeah, we have to
okay.
roll call it, so,
Roll call.
Roll call for motion, Rick Madden, aye.
Gino Fellini, aye. Aye,
Did you
yeah.
Are
Aye.
you aye or nay?
aye.
Okay. Nicole Pelletier, aye.
Bob Kenny, aye.
Jim Campbell, aye.
Bob Clark, aye.
Okay, and now we need to.
Okay.
I'd like to move that we build, we issue a negative, notice a note of intent. Build according to plans with
Oh,
all
that's an NOI.
things that discussed tonight where feasible. Where feasible.
It's an NOI,
Where
Bob.
feasible. It's an NOI.
Yeah.
Yep, so we're issuing our order of conditions
Right.
as discussed this evening with the 12-inch silt sock and all of the conditions that have been presented to us tonight within the previously disturbed area, to the extent that is feasible.
Right.
Okay,
Including provisions for runoff on the garage
That's-
and
that's all
conservation
feasible,
markers at the tree line.
there you go.
That's all in
As
there, yeah.
discussed.
All right.
You already talked about it.
Right,
Okay.
as discussed.
So do we have, so now we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Madden?
Rick Madden, aye.
Gino Fellini, aye.
Mr. Egerton?
Okay.
Aye.
Yeah, he said
Yes,
aye.
aye.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you. Nicole Pelletier, aye.
Bob Kenny, aye.
Jim Campbell, aye.
Bob Clark, aye.
All right, so,
Thank you for your time.
yes, thank you. Please note that any person aggrieved by this decision has the right of appeal within 10 business days. Please contact our office or DEP if you need assistance. All right, thank you.
So you figure
They'll
that
call us,
one
they'll
out.
call us back to get their COC, so
It's
we'll
gonna
be
be
able to
easy.
check it all out.
Negative three.
Marty?
Well,
Sorry
negative
about
three.
that.
No, no, it's.
No, it's a notice
No,
of
that
intent.
was an NOI.
I think that's reflected.
It's written differently.
You know, I had it in my head that all of these were RDAs tonight until like 30 minutes before this meeting, and then I was like, oh, go through this whole process again. Okay, so now we're moving on.
Okay.
Oh, we're a little late, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have our DPW director here, Mr. Joseph Diute. Feedback with regards to trees in memory registry. Please join us. Hi. How are you this evening? How are you? Good. So for lack
Joseph
of,
Diute, I'm the DPW director here in Pembroke. Gino, Rick,
Joe?
Bob, good to see you. James, Robert, I don't think I met you, and Nicole.
yes, hi.
Evening.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.
So, trees in memory. We've been talking about this for quite a while now, a few months maybe. We did accept a tree donation on behalf of a family who had lost their father, and they wanted to honor him with, what was it, a tulip tree?
Yes.
My memory is not good today. So I guess the idea of a trees in memory registry came up, and then we were thinking about the aftercare and what kind of parameters we could establish with somebody who would be providing the aftercare so that we're not tasking anybody with too much work.
Well, the problem that we could run into is because we're a DPW and we're a
Yeah.
union shop,
Yeah,
if you were to plant something, which we do, you're taking away from the bargaining unit. It's a great concept, but you'll have grievances.
okay,
I mean, we do have qualified, a four-staff qualified tree department. With years and years combined, they have probably 90 years of experience in the tree industry. Anywhere from grafting, planting, disease control, pruning, climbing, planting. I mean, I might have said that already, but these guys are very qualified. It's a great concept. The problem that I see is it could be a union issue.
okay,
If you're planting something that we plant as well sometimes, because we have a tree fund, things that come down, trees we take down that are compromised, we sometimes plant them if they're a historic tree, something like that nature.
okay,
That's the only thing I could see a problem with.
okay.
So the concern of the commission that we're giving you too much work is unfounded.
No, it's not too much work. It's the stuff that we currently have.
Right, so it's unfounded, our concern.
Correct, correct.
But wasn't this family planning on watering the tree themselves?
Yeah, so with the one that we've already accepted, we put the care and custody on,
Yeah.
onus on the family, basically. This
Yeah.
is their tree, and we've just, the select board gave them the consent to plant it.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm explaining that. Like, we gave them consent, and then the select board also moved forward with consent. So, you know, obviously, we don't want to put our horse before the cart,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess, is this something,
Well, I think the question is where is the family planting? Is it on town property?
It's planted.
yeah, it's been planted on town
All right,
property.
so it's a moot issue.
It's received, yeah, so that one's done, it's in the past, and the family is taking care of it.
Okay.
But going forward, if we wanted to do something like this, it would have to be something that's part of, the job description for these, for anybody who would be offering support, and would they have time, you know, I guess there's
Well,
more to this.
I have a question, if you open up. If we have a area, say the town forest, we have trees up there that we take care of, we've been taking care of. All of a sudden, we can't take care of them?
No, I'm not saying that, Bobby.
No, I know you're not, but
No,
I'm
we're-
asking where,
I'm talking about in our town layout. In our town layout, we take care of the trees in the town layout. Whether it's a compromised tree, whether it's pruning a tree.
you know,
Is all that within the right of way, though?
Correct.
Okay, so,
Correct.
yeah, so along, like,
so in other words, islands in the center of the road. We
Correct.
have people that take care of the islands, they plant bushes.
Correct.
Does that fall under you?
No, so we have a
Memorandum
memorandum,
of
but
understanding.
they
We have formal
also,
paperwork, Bob.
yeah.
All right.
Everything's documented and there's formal paperwork now.
Yeah.
It's not like it used to be. Everybody has to sign up for the commitment, they get a term, they have,
No more Nancy Reed?
right, I know. Now you have to sign up, promise what you'll do, not do, what you won't destroy, whether you abandon it, and then you sign off.
Organic, no chemicals.
Well, so in other words,
And who does that fall under?
Public Works.
Yeah.
That's all right of way, of course.
so
But-
these are, this is for the memorandum of understanding is drafted between the volunteers and the DPW. Like, that's a contractual obligation between you and
Well,
volunteers.
it's,
Sorry, I just
Yeah,
want to
we
make sure I
took care of
understand.
it.
that there,
We took care of it, because
It's
again,
kinda
when
like a
Joe
Dolphin
said,
Island.
Joe, one more time, how many people are in the tree department?
we have 4.
4.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many tens of thousands of trees do you have in Pembroke?
I couldn't count.
So
Tens of
any chance
thousands.
we get to take a burden
Yeah.
Yeah,
off,
yeah.
and oftentimes it's an initiative, like an island maintenance agreement. Or we're talking and have been, the select board did it here last night in this room. Why don't we consider once again going back to Pembroke Chamber of Commerce, and asking them to have a public-private partnership where we get landscapers to take care of some of the lawns. People are expecting more and more and more from their government, and they're not gonna give you one more dime.
Yeah.
Understandably.
Right.
I have no opinion on that topic. But the services requested exceed the bodies that are able to deliver them.
Yeah.
So from a practical standpoint, what I heard you share back to the committee is that if there is a Pembroke tree to be planted on Pembroke property, there's an actual collective bargaining agreement that
Correct.
specifies who does it and how it's done. Did I say that right?
Absolutely,
Okay,
100%.
I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We certainly don't want to rock that boat
And,
either.
and
No.
you're,
You know?
you're conceptually 100% right.
Yes.
But everything had to get tightened up over time.
Okay, let me just throw it.
Sure.
I'm very active in Arbor Day and the things. I get trees that I've been bringing in and planting on my own property. And some of them are growing, some are growing where they should
Yeah,
no longer be on my property, should be other places.
okay.
What do I do with them? I've got 5 trees that should
I don't know,
be
it
in
started
should be
with
in the
you-
mail tomorrow.
But you said you planted them on your property. So I'm like, that has nothing to do with the town. The town has to be very careful about what responsibilities it accepts, which is on town property.
Right.
and not private property.
Yeah, we
So-
don't take care of private property trees.
No, of course not.
The example that they're having here is this tree was planted at Herring Run Park, which is in the care and custody of Concom. That's how this started. So
Yeah.
this tree already planted, the family's taking care of it. It's town property. I know your parks people mow the grass.
do.
and- Exactly.
They do.
So
So
we're-
maybe that's more of a realistic place to go now that the planting of it's, who's gonna tend it? Who's
Yeah.
gonna, sorry.
Because
And the same goes for Wadham's Ford. There's a number of trees up there that conservation bought and had, we put in and all that.
Yeah.
And they're up there growing. Now, those are your problem now, not ours.
I remember when it was done.
that's the thing, like, we want to make sure that we have all of this ironed out in whatever capacity it needs to happen for us to achieve this. We're looking, and Gino, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I missed part of the conversation, but, if somebody wants a tree, then instead of putting the burden on the DPW tree department for watering and whatnot, they're responsible for taking care of the tree.
Correct.
That takes the burden off of you. Second, if we decide on a location for a tree, we should check with you to make sure that it's not gonna interfere with your lawn cutting or anything
Or
on
in the-
conservation.
Or in public way.
Right.
It can't interfere with the
Right.
roadways.
It's exclusively within the public way though, right? Your tree care, or is it, does it,
You know, I
it
think
extends
we
to
left
the other
one thing
properties,
off.
so.
But we
Remember all
can't
the trees
do
that
the
came down
digging
at
and
Herring Run?
planting
We had to
it
get rid
either.
of them.
We take care of them.
Do
It
we,
has to be
do we
them
have,
because
Oh.
they're union.
Do you-
do we have a
You only
map
have one
marked
person
up?
at a time.
Yeah, I
Sorry?
know, sorry. Do we have, a map marked up of like where the lawn mowing areas are? I mean, maybe that could be helpful if we have,
Well, the grass,
no?
where there's grass.
No, I know, but it's like, there are certain.
I don't have a mapped out area where they mow.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, no,
So-
that's okay. I was just
Well, the whole
wondering.
purpose of this was.
Bob
if
mentioned,
this comes up
is
again,
that, are you responsible for digging the holes too, or?
Yeah.
When we plant a tree,
Yeah,
yes.
but if the, home-
Yeah.
if somebody's gonna dig a memorial tree, they bring their family and a couple of shovels to dig a hole.
Yeah, right.
And they plant a tree. Do you have a
that-
problem with
I
that?
don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
As long as it's not, if it's in Wadham's Ford or the Herring Run, if something happens to the tree while we're mowing, trimming, while we're in there with machines, we're not responsible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It happens.
yeah.
weed whack a deaf
Oh,
tree.
Well, it's just
That's
mowers,
an
you
issue.
know, we got machines doing some site work
Yeah.
sometimes, removing trees that are fallen. I don't know if you remember the Herring Run when they had that storm come through, it was a mess in there. We had to hire a contractor to come in there and remove all the trees, and they had machines in there, and it was tight in there with all the trees down. So if something gets damaged, we're not gonna be responsible, nor the contractor.
And wasn't this tree planted like where a tree had fallen down?
Yes.
It's like within
Yeah.
10 feet, I thought.
It was like a previous
Yeah.
location
Yeah.
for a tree, so we just kind of replaced what was there.
And how often do you actually have these issues? Like, how often are trees brought to you for donation for memorial?
Well, so that's the thing, is
Not
like if we
often.
open this up
For
to
more than
people,
3 years.
yeah.
You are aware that the conservation open space have a tree fund that is set up that when we allow trees to be cut of a certain size and all, that they need to be replaced on the customer's or the person's property. If they choose not to replace them on their property, then they are asked to make a donation to the tree replacement and restoration fund or whatever we have.
Correct.
And it's of sufficient size. We have an amount of money, I don't want to go into that, we have an amount of money in that fund that we can go out and buy trees to
Correct.
be placed all around town. But now, we can't replace the trees. We have to get you or someone else?
I'm not in the DPW.
No,
You
but-
don't have to get me
but
at
you're
all.
handling the paperwork that goes to the DPW.
Paperwork generally does, but I think that this is one of those situations where Joe would work with his crew
Well,
and
I
you
have no
to
doubt
come
Joe
up
will
with
work
an.
with us. I just want
Right.
to make sure that we touch on this.
The point is, this is a televised meeting, and there is a labor union that would be concerned about having any work that would ordinarily come their way not come their way. And conservation's been planting your own trees for so long.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I'm
fog
certainly
pole.
not implying you can't be doing it. I'm saying that this is a specific kind of conversation. You're talking about making some you're memorializing a process.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and we have
And
no
that-
interest in making it more of a
I just
burden.
want to make sure Joe understands. that
Oh,
we-
absolutely, Bob.
We have money we'd like to see put into trees growing in Pembroke. And being as you are in charge of that department, we'd like you to keep an eye out to places where you think trees, and this, we're saying trees, it can be this, or it can be, as we
Sure.
have up at Moore, we put in a 20-foot tree one time out of Pine Brook up there. I mean, so the money is there to support that part of the operation.
Sure.
And we'd like to see the money in the form of green trees rather than dollar bills sitting on an account up in the upstairs office.
This is not identical, but it's similar. We have people who will request a sign, a road sign, dead end, maybe deaf
Turtle
child, turtle crossing, whatever
Beaver
it is.
crossing.
And because we don't ever use taxpayer money for individual requests, Joe has a department that will accept that request to erect a sign if the resident pays for the sign and the post. But they install it. Everyone appreciates and enjoys the sign, but the work is still done in a process that both honors the town's obligations and responsibility and liability, and fulfills the wishes and
Well,
hopes and
It's
expectations
in our
of
layout.
others.
Yeah.
This brings up an interesting question. So the kiosks that we would be installing at our trails, is this something that we would have to involve the DPW in as well?
No.
Okay, just checking.
I don't even, you may not have to dig a hole for that, why tell them?
Oh my gosh. Okay,
That's so weird, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do have to dig a hole in it.
No,
I
you
see that it
don't.
has
No,
been
you
dug.
don't. No, you
It has
don't.
been
okay,
dug.
moving
I'm
on.
talking about trees, not
Hey, we're
trees.
still live.
There you go.
Yeah, we are
Right.
talking about trees. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to digress. Okay, so I guess if this, we wanted to set up a system where we could provide people with the opportunity to do this, but we don't want to be an undue burden to anybody who has specific contractual obligations in the town. But if this does ever come up again, would it be unreasonable for us to maybe provide the information to you for further review?
100%.
Okay, so then we can just make sure that we're not impeding upon any natural processes of the
Let's set it
DPW.
better.
100%.
Okay,
And
and then
then you
once,
can even write that up. So
Yeah.
now that and the
Yeah.
more feedback you guys give each other,
yeah,
the easier it'll be for you guys to really lock in on that.
okay. Because we're also like going through the process of indexing everything for open space, so it's like there's potential there for things, and I just, we'll be on the same, I'll make sure I reach out to you so that we can be on the same page there. Okay, great. Well, thanks for coming
All right, well,
and
thanks.
telling us about
Good
that.
seeing you, Bobby. You look good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, James, Robert.
Looks
Nice
as
to meet you,
though-
Nicole.
Nice to meet you.
Huh?
Looks are sometimes not correct, but yeah,
That's okay.
feel free to call me. I don't
Oh,
Yeah,
any
awesome.
anything.
I think,
Are you bored?
no, well, I don't know if he's bored, but I think he'd enjoy some good, tree chat.
I'll have to take a ride down and see you, Bobby.
You missed the big blowdown over his place.
Oh,
I'll do it in the storm, windstorm.
Oh, yeah, I lost my whole right through.
Big
This
behind you like
house.
a fly swatter.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right down through the middle with 120-foot pine.
Oh.
The only one I left in the yard when I
Oh.
built
That
it.
was reachable.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
okay.
it's down now.
Yep.
it's not quite finished yet. We still got some work on the deck, but the snow came in before we could get the finish on the deck.
We get some strong wind tonight?
Yeah.
They're saying, yeah, 50 mile an hour gusts. So-
motion to close the meeting?
Oh, wait,
You have signatures.
really
and a
sorry.
CRC.
We're not done yet.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, I'll
Oh, we
I'd
can
like to
close.
move that we thank
Well, we
Joe
have
for
a little
being
bit.
here
And
with
sign.
us.
We just
to
have a
share
little
with
bit
us.
more left.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Anytime.
So, yes, you have notes, I believe, on this last item. And
Yes.
it is, very quickly, forgive me, I put it down.
Work
Shouldn't
it
have
out
put it
where,
down.
say the state comes in and plants a bunch of flowering trees along the road again, that they don't all break out when they're prone to break out if they're not pruned.
You said the state?
They'll pick on the state highway when they put through the blooming pear trees.
Oh, yeah.
Are you talking about in
Because
town
they break
center?
out, 'cause they're all grafted. They just break
Exactly.
right out.
Yeah,
I didn't get that.
They have to be like 25% pruned every 3 years.
they're not a hardy tree, as you know, Rick.
Not the right tree, it's not the place you're not gonna take care of.
No, but they're cheap,
It's a waste of money.
yeah.
So.
And they
those
look good.
trees,
Yeah.
Maybe you could think of something better than those trees.
Well,
next time
That's Mass DOT spec.
It is.
Oh my gosh, I just
Hey,
messed up my own
Joe.
picture. Hello.
At Herring Run, at the parking lot area, as you were walking to that bridge from the parking lot, there's a good-sized small leaf white oak that is gotta be ancient. Is there any way
Oh, I know what you're talking
of
about, yeah.
taking care of it before it,
I'll take a look at it.
yeah?
I'll take a look at it.
That does show
Yeah,
salt
could-
damage on the very upper.
Right at the edge of the parking lot before you get
Yeah,
to the bridge.
it's a good-sized
Oh, yeah,
tree, you
yeah, yeah,
can't miss
yeah.
it.
I'll take a look at it, but we don't take down live trees.
No, I don't want to take it
Yeah.
down.
Some sort of
You know,
retaining
I want it to
If
be
it need-
taken care of. You have an arborist or somebody,
We have an arborist.
can you take a look at it?
Yeah.
And see if you can save it
Yeah.
and, you know, make sure, because it seems, I think it's slowly dying.
Probably
and
from the salt off the roads.
It's a beautiful tree. And I think it's probably one of a few
Yeah, there's a bunch.
English small leaf
They were
white oaks,
planted-
European small leaf white
white
oak.
Yeah.
Is the arborist in-house or subcontracted?
Subcontract.
Okay.
Yes, it really could use a, like, a retaining wall, some root, blown away with air and then some packing on the roots and just a real upgrade
Okay.
towards
Right.
existence, but,
Take a peek at it.
well,
All right, great. All right,
that's quite a
thank you
process.
so much.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for
And
coming
welcome,
tonight
welcome,
and
welcome.
for,
Nice to meet
taking
you.
the time. I know it's annoying to come to night meetings and you're working all day, but
Oh, he did, he had budget
See you at the
last
dump.
night.
The landfill, the
That worked
recycling
out.
center.
Yeah.
so,
Right, we all
I'm
set?
old school.
yes, we're all set.
Absolutely,
Thank
sir.
you,
Take care,
Joe.
folks.
Thank
We'll be
you.
in touch.
Take care, buddy. See you, Sabrina.
Thank you.
Okay, so, so I know that there isn't an open spot on the planning board, but I'm just wondering if anybody has interest in attending the planning board meetings, because there's gonna be a lot of, there's a plan underway to involve the Old Colony Planning Council.
Yes.
Yes, I always, the acronyms and everything. So we're going through the process of understanding what may or may not be developed in town, and I just think it would be good for somebody to be there on behalf of conservation, even though they may not explicitly be able to be a member of planning board. Is anybody interested in doing that?
And zoning.
Nope.
In
If you're gonna
zoning,
do one, you
yeah.
should really consider,
And the thing is like, I don't know if there's a way for us to have like a right of first refusal for that next open spot or something.
planning board is pulling papers, and you can do that right now. Well, not now, it's closed, but tomorrow, come on in.
Art, are
You
you
can
still
pull
on the phone?
papers.
So I nominate Art.
Thank you.
I
You still
nominate
have
Art,
one
he
more.
left. Writing it
Thank you
down.
very much, Tina.
You get that, Gino? Get that?
I need it.
Art, we lost Art. But yeah, so we're looking for somebody for planning board. I'm gonna write Art as the question because we don't have him. And then zoning too, if anybody's interested in attending zoning board meetings. Anybody? No? Just me?
You got me on one, you're not gonna get me on two.
I know. Okay, well, we'll figure it out, one step at a time. And all the meetings are recorded, so we can always look if we're curious. All right, and then with regards to the short-term and long-term goals for the Laggy property, I think we should just table that discussion for tonight because the Open Space Committee is going to be going through the process of doing a trail cleanup and kind of reevaluating everything that in its current existing state. So maybe we should what do you think, Bob? Should we table that discussion till April so that we can?
I think we should put it off. I think we've discussed enough tonight that we're
Yeah,
not out.
we're all done.
Everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
respectable.
One more thing, though, one more. You have 5 Dewey Lane, your certificate of compliance. And on the Dewey Lane property, 1994, it was called Off School Street. And the order of conditions was issued. And the question seems to be that now they're trying to sell the property. And they require this board to sign off on a certificate of compliance for that work. This was 31 years ago.
Yeah. I don't want to excuse myself, I may be in a butter. I may be, I don't know.
Is there a PowerPoint
Dewey
presentation
Lane.
about this?
Do we lane, yes?
I had to
It used
look,
to go
and I
right through
couldn't
my
find
yard,
it.
through
Did
the
it really?
yard.
Did it? Did it? Okay, I just figured you might actually have the recollection and you might share.
Oh, I know,
Because
yeah, I'll
31
share
years
the
ago, I wasn't
recollection.
living in Pembroke. I can't give you much beyond.
Move, what, is there
Yes.
anything on the, did Andy pull a lot of recognition or anything?
No,
Was
'Cause
there
I don't
anything other than just normal?
no,
No.
just, yep, this is very
We-
straightforward.
I'd
It's
like
very
to move
straightforward.
We issue a certificate of compliance for, what,
5 Dewey Lane, sir.
five, do we lane, and
Yes,
it's got a SE number of 04 something?
Yeah,
Okay,
Second.
perfect, thank
okay,
you.
and then we need to do a roll call vote. Can you,
He's gonna,
Madden,
Aye.
what are we doing?
we're doing a roll call vote on this one,
5
right?
Dewey Lane?
For 5 Dewey Lane COC.
Oh, hi.
Nicole Pelletier, aye.
At the risk of seeming ignorant, I'm not really sure what we're voting on.
Yeah.
Someone did work 31 years ago on a certain order of conditions for the Conservation Commission. And what's expected is that they come back and get the certificate of compliance signed. 31 years ago, off School Street, they
Yep.
didn't get it signed.
We've done,
The current homeowner has lived
Andy-
there
Andy
and
talked-
now would like to
alright.
sell the property and
I
must
caught
have.
it. Andy, you talked to me about this. right?
Yes,
Okay.
thank
yeah,
you.
we've done hundreds of these.
And it's
Kenny-
never a good thing,
Well,
but
Kenny, aye.
it happens.
Yeah.
Thank
Jim
you.
Campbell, aye.
12 o'clock, aye.
Thank you,
Alright,
sir.
It
unanimous.
always comes back to
Yeah.
haunt, don't it?
I know you're right, but
I
all the
always want to
things we did
recuse
31
myself
years
from
ago,
votes,
too.
but then I
It's
feel like a
okay.
jerk
Yeah,
when I
no,
do.
yeah.
No, and by the way, so I'm just gonna ask you guys to sign this. You're free to continue to deliberate or adjourn, whatever you like.
Okay.
I think we want to sign that.
Do we have a motion to
I make a
close?
motion to close?
Yeah.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And do we have to do a roll call vote of that too?
No, because he's
Mr.
gone. He's
Mr.
been,
Mr. Edgerton has gone.
he's been gone for a while.
Wow, I've not had that happen.
That didn't sound very good.
Could have been.
He signed off. He said he had to leave early, and he missed the tree guy. Missed Joe.
Oh, I hope he has a good night. So that's cool.
He missed a good time. That's all I can say.
I believe Joe and I will have no problem getting along.
It's a Soda Stream bottle. We aren't using up Red Bull cans anymore.
Oh.
We just Soda Stream it.
We can tell him.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah,